Welcome, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started in just a minute, just letting the numbers rise for a minute. But thanks for joining us this afternoon for what we think is going to be a hopeful and exciting conversation with some really great alumni. Great. Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. So welcome, everyone. This is the third installment in Elevate Your Career Next Level virtual events. My name is Elissa Kelly, and I am the Director of Alumni Relations for the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences. And I'm joined this afternoon with my two colleagues, Josh Prue, the Director of Alumni Engagement for the UConn Foundation, as well as Caitlin Krause, the Director of Alumni Relations for the School of Engineering. And we round out a committee that brings career programs to you every month. This is a special month where we have a series called Elevate. Normally, we would be visiting you across the country, but alas, we're joining you in your living room, your office, wherever you're tuning in from this afternoon. The three of us will be your point of contacts producing today's event. We're really your friends in the chat. We're also available to answer any logistical questions as best as we possibly can. Our program today features three alumni really at the forefront of social change careers with impressive backgrounds in nonprofit and business industries. I think particularly poignant this past year with calls for greater social justice amidst the raging pandemic, really showing us the interconnectedness of complex systems in our society. But these social change leaders have really been a beacon for hope. And today we hope that you'll hear about their career path, where their industries are going, and really walk away feeling a sense of hope after this hour. Before we jump in, just a couple of housekeeping items. We encourage you to use the chat throughout the program, chat with us, chat with each other, with our panelists. We will have dedicated time for Q&A, but please make sure to drop those in the Q&A function in your toolbar. The chat does tend to fill up, and we want to make sure we don't miss any of those. Again, Josh, Kate, and I will be monitoring all of that. We also encourage you to share your LinkedIn in the chat. We will drop our panelists and our moderators' LinkedIn into the chat in a bit so that you can connect with them. But this is a great opportunity for you to connect with each other. And then finally, I just have the privilege of introducing our moderator today. Dr. Oscar GUERRA is an Emmy award-winning director, researcher, and educator. He's an assistant professor of film and video at the University of Connecticut. His work focuses on storytelling that promotes critical thinking and social investment, and he aims to produce media that provides a way for underrepresented groups to share and disseminate counter stories, contradict dominant and predominantly stereotypical narratives, and strengthen their voices and identity. His career spans a spectrum of television environments, music, multimedia production, documentaries for social change, and he has vast international experience. So we're really thrilled to have Oscar helping us tell our panelist stories today. And so thank you for joining us, Oscar, and I will hand the floor over to you.
Elisa, thank you so much. And I want to welcome everyone, all the participants that we have in here. We have around 40 people, so I want to welcome you all. We're going to have a wonderful discussion. We're here with a group of extraordinary people. And if you allow me, I'd like to introduce each and one of them. Here with us is Drew Ray. Drew is the Chief Digital Officer at Goodwill Industries International. Prior to joining Goodwill, Drew held leadership roles in numerous high-profile companies, including Fortune 500 companies, and Drew holds an MBA from UConn. So welcome, Drew. Here with us as well, we have Jessica HINMAN. Jessica is the Chief Corporate Social Responsibility Officer at FCP Euro. Prior to joining FCP Euro, she was the Manager of Global Corporate Social Responsibility at Pratt & Whitney. Jessica is a graduate of the UConn Nonprofit Management Program and is currently working on her master's. It's great to have you here, Jessica. We also have here with us Jason JAKUBOWSKI. Jason is the President and CEO of Foodshare and the Connecticut Food Bank. Prior to joining Foodshare, Jason was the Vice President of External Relations at the Hospital for Special Care. Jason holds a bachelor's degree in political science and a Master of Public Administration from UConn. Jason, it's great to have you here. Welcome. Why don't we start with Drew? Drew, would you mind sharing a little bit about who you are and what is exactly what you do?
Thanks, Oscar. I hope you can hear me. Just want to double check the technology part. Thank you. My name is Drew Ray, and I'm the Chief Digital Officer and CIO for Goodwill Industries. You probably know your local Goodwill where you can donate stuff. So we have a large, believe it or not, is bigger than some of the Fortune 500 companies. And we are $6.5 billion retail operation in donation market. We have 142,000 employees across the world, mostly in North America. And as you know, our mission is make people's life better by training and placing them. That's our real mission. Retail is just a means to an end. We also raise funds to fund those missions. We'll talk more later, but that's what I do. Before that, I have had major roles as Chief Digital Officer for many brands focused on B2C and B2B. I'm really delighted to join this set of folks because I'm really thankful for UConn community because I wouldn't be here without the education I got there. Thank you.
Drew, thank you so much. You said retail is a means to an end. We're going to go back to that point in a little bit. Jessica, would you mind sharing a little bit about your story with us?
Absolutely, and thanks everyone. It's such an honor and privilege to be here today, not only with the great panelists and moderators, but with you all as the UConn community. I will second Drew's opinion as well. UConn has really given me the amplification and the ongoing knowledge and skills that I need to stay at the forefront of corporate social responsibility. And really, it goes well beyond a company's philanthropic efforts or trying to just, volunteer in a community. As Jason and I work together on Foodshare on a number of projects, and now potentially the Connecticut Food Bank as well, it's all about creating an environment where employees of a business, large or small, understand the complexities in our involvement in societal change. So that's everything from diversity, equity, and inclusion to future workforce development to skills-based programs. So it's a field and industry that's always changing. I absolutely love it. And I've really done a full 360 in my career. Prior to that, I was with a nonprofit right in the Hartford community, and an amazing experience. And I'm still one of their most avid volunteers. And then prior to that, I was in retail management. So Drew, again, sharing your sentiment on that. I've done different capacities and really am passionate about that subcurrent of what makes a company so great beyond the brand itself.
Jessica, thank you so much. And I think that we're definitely going to go back to that point about employees understanding the complexities of the reality that we're living. So thank you so much for your introduction. Jason, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely, Oscar. Thank you, and it's great to be on this panel with Drew. Drew, I have 5 kids and have made more donations to Goodwill than is possible, and to be on this panel with my good friend Jessica, who I've known for many years, this is great. I'm a Connecticut guy, born and raised in New Britain. I live in West Hartford now. Both of my degrees are from UConn. I'm a big UConn guy too. I got my mug to prove it. And I'm actually starting this semester. I'm actually on faculty at UConn at the Department of Public Policy, teaching a course that I developed on nonprofit government relations, advocacy, and law. So if any of you ever want to take it, feel free to sign up for it. It's a pretty cool class. I'm enjoying it from my end. But again, UConn definitely gave me the foundation and the tools I needed to make it in the public and nonprofit sectors. I have been here at Foodshare for about 4 years. I've been at Foodshare / Connecticut Food Bank for 10 days. We literally just merged, so there's now one food bank for the state of Connecticut, and I am the president and CEO of that one merged entity. So I could probably teach a whole 15-week class on mergers in and of itself. So we've definitely been through the ringer. My background, everybody arrives in nonprofits from different backgrounds. The bulk of my background is politics and public service. When I was 21, actually, as right after I graduated from UConn, I was elected to the city council in New Britain. I spent 2 terms on the city council, 2 terms as city treasurer. I've been involved in races ranging from Board of Education to U.S. Senate and to governor. I served on 2 gubernatorial transition teams for Governor Malloy and Governor Lamont, and was a presidential elector for President Obama. So my background is politics, but there's a lot of crossover between politics and public service and what we do here in the nonprofit sector. It's all about serving the community, and that's what I'm happy to talk about today.
Jason, thank you so much, and it's great to hear that you're teaching that class. Maybe you can tell us more about it in a little bit. I think that it's another way of giving back to the community. So thank you so much. Let's go back with Drew. Drew, now that we know a little bit more about what you are, tell us about your career journey. And if you can, it'll be great if you can perhaps share an impactful story or theme that you would like to share with our audience.
Thanks, Oscar. The career journey I have now, I'm pretty old, I guess, in 28 years of career. I would say the theme has been, I was very career centric when I started. I'm a capitalist at heart. I'm very competitive. I work very hard, very focused. I drive results. I got my training in Ernst & Young, General Motors, GE. So some of the marquee firm with top-notch. But the most important thing is the people I worked and the help I got. I wouldn't be here if I didn't get all the help and support. I always look back and tell young people, like the folks on this call, that as you progress in the journey, just remember the most aspect of that is the relationship. You can accomplish a lot of stuff. You can be the best of the best in terms of skills. But along the way, if you don't build relationship, you're going to have a hard time progressing. And as you mature and as you graduate and as you move towards, whether it's a corporate ladder or the non-for-profit ladder, pick your thing, do it well, do it intensely, but just make sure that you build bridges, you build relationship as you progress. The other thing is, depending on where you want to go, be bold, take a risk, ready for failures. There will be days where you will doubt yourself. There'll be days where others will doubt you. But don't be somebody else. Don't be, along the way, I'm pretty sure, Jessica and Jason will share the same stories. If you don't take risk, you don't go anywhere. So take risk. Just throw yourself into it if you are in it. Otherwise, don't stand on the fence. Don't walk a line. Just in it or not in it. And it's okay to fail as long as you can learn the lesson. As long as the failure is not personal, the failure is generally team and organizational, and you can learn something. And lastly, I would say that, this generation is a little different than the generation I come from and the generation before me. The technology adoption, and I'm a technologist at heart, don't be afraid of technology. And I think your generation is kind of born with the technology. I don't think you can live without it. It's my generation before has a change management issue. But be bold, take technology, and transform the world. And lastly, I would say that once you have achieved, or as you achieve, think about others. There are people In my lifetime, in 28 years, I think I've done very well for myself, my family, my kids. And the reason I took this job is this is not a job. I have done a lot for myself and my immediate family for 28 years. But the next 10 to 15 years, I want to do for somebody else. There are, I did not know the bottom 50 million Americans, how they live until I took this job. I did not know what exactly to be a single mom stuck into a retail job paying $8 an hour. We work on training and placing people. These people don't even have a car to come to our training center. So make sure as you progress in your life with your goals, whatever those goals are, at some point of time, think about others.
Drew, just to recap a little bit on what you say, you're a capitalist at heart, but the most important thing is people, right? And I think that the advice that you're providing, to be bold, to take risk, and to embrace failure, I think that it's a very important lesson here that I'm sure Jessica and Jason will agree with. With that in mind, Jessica, can you tell us a little bit about your journey, and also maybe tell us about one specific story in case you have one when you have encountered some of these situations?
Sure, yeah, and great example, Drew. Thanks for starting us off on such a high note as well. And there's going to be definitely a lot of similarities with the three of us here on our experiences. So, my starting in the employment field, I've been working, under the table since I was 13, legally since I was 16. Had to work to pay my way through school, come from a blended household where finances were not readily available. So had to make choices based on necessity. And from that worked for, which I'll touch back on the most really impactful time, which really scoped out the drive to do what I do today. But learning from going from a corporate environment, retail management, then to a nonprofit and a small local nonprofit where it is, Drew, to your point, it's all hands on deck. It's all a collective team. If something's that priority for the day, it's everyone's priority. And seeing people and encountering different cultures and backgrounds, and then coming from that to a company like Pratt & Whitney with 42,000 employees in a global scope, not only you're working with people in different parts of the world, so far as just the actual logistics of time zone differences, never before did I have to run meetings at 4 in the morning or 10 at night and be just as sharp as I was in the middle of the day. But the cultures and differences and being able to interact with those cultures in addition to my travels as well has really set that level of diversity that that encompasses all of us. So I would think the company that really set it off, or the job experience, I can pinpoint it to one experience where I realized I didn't know what corporate social responsibility was, but now that I'm here, I'll say a few years later, I'll put it lightly. Thank goodness for a little bit of airbrush touch up on, our Zoom chats, but just putting it out there. But was Starbucks when I was 16 years old. That was my first full-time, not full-time, part-time. I was in school, but my first real job. And I worked for that company for 11 years, all the way through college. And that was a job where at 16 years old, I came in part-time. They were flexible with my school schedule and the sports that I did. And all through college at 18 years old, I had medical benefits, tuition reimbursement, stock options. I had to go to Costa Rica to work on the coffee plantations to understand fair trade practices. You were called a partner at Starbucks, and you still are to this day. I'm not trying to give them a shameless plug, but it's important that you were called a partner because you had stock in the company. You were equally vested in the sustainability and success of that company. And so having that as my first real job for 11 years, and as a supervisor, I traveled and opened 15 different stores, would train hundreds of employees, really set my bar high of what I expected from a company or an organization to work with. And that's always what gravitated me towards a company, was that culture. It was the job and the paycheck, yes, for sure. But that third part that is now for all of you in the younger generation is probably one of the most important reasons you work for a company organization, is that culture. And seeing in both nonprofits and corporations that do it well, nonprofits like Goodwill and Foodshare and Connecticut Food Bank, they foster that inclusion, that ability to really be whole. And with that is that ability, I'm sure Jason and Drew agree with me. I hate when people say work-life balance. That is my buzzword. That and saying you're bored are my two buzzwords forever and ever. And Jason's laughing because he knows how true it is. That if you really love what you do, if you are passionate about what you do, it doesn't have to be a work-life balance. It is part of who you are. And you always want to learn, you always want to engage, you want to have those tough conversations. And I may contradict you a little bit, Drew. It is okay, if you're passionate about what you do, it's okay to fail. I have failed horrifically so many times in my life. And those are the points in time where I said, you know what? I can do better. I have to do better now. And I have to do better for those around me that don't have the opportunities that I was given. So those are the lessons learned that started at 16, not really knowing what it was. And it took me a kind of roundabout way to get there, like we all do in life. But to be here today, again, I cannot say again how honored I am and consider myself so fortunate to have the trials and tribulations to get to here today.
Jessica, thank you so much. It seems like for you, everything is about the culture, more important than anything else. It's a collective team. How to foster inclusion? It's part of who you are. I think that hopefully, if we have enough time, we can go back to that part of work and life balance, because I think that there's different approaches in how we do that. When do I say, okay, this is work and this is the life that I have? How do we find that balance, or how to incorporate it? If you find your passion, you never get to work again in your life because it's what you love, what you do. So thanks for sharing the Starbucks story with us. That's really interesting. Thank you.
I want a percentage of their stock now because of it.
Of course. Jason, let's hear a little bit about yourself. Tell us a little bit about your career. Maybe if you have a story as well.
Well, Jessica, I feel significantly better about the $3 I spent on this green tea this morning. So thank you. I feel terrific. Yeah, I obviously agree with everything that's.
Okay, I think we're having Jason. We're gonna have to. Let's see if he comes back. Give him a second. We all know how Zoom works sometimes.
I announced I was running for.
Jason, I'm sorry, can you hear me there?
I can hear you, yeah.
Yeah, you lost connection for a little bit. So if you don't mind, if we can retake that from the beginning.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Sorry about that. People have always said that, taking risks and being bold. I graduated from UConn in May of '99. 6 weeks later, I announced I was running for city council, and people are like, "You're 21 years old. What are you doing?" There were plenty of times, by the way, in which I said, "I'm 21 years old. What am I doing?" Taking chances like that are important. And even in the times you failed, I mean, I ran for mayor in 2005 and lost. That was probably one of the best experiences of my life, because I learned so much about myself and so much about what I wanted to do in the future. So taking risks is important. What I always say, though, using your contacts and your friendships is important. I say I'm a big UConn guy. It's not just the piece of paper on my wall. It's not just the mug on my desk, and it's not just the basketball tickets. It's the fact that I'm a part of a network, and most of my connections in my professional life are from people that I knew either as an undergraduate or certainly in graduate school at UConn. Some of my closest friendships in my life are from people that I have met at UConn. I am married to the woman that I met at UConn. I was the editor-in-chief of the Daily Campus, and she was the news editor, and that was the last time I was her boss. So she's been the boss for the last 23 years. So using that network and being a part of that network, I think is something that's very important. But out of that, you also have to draw mentors and role models. And for me, that's always been something that's very important. And I look at the people that are role models for me in my life and how I pattern not only personal life, but professional lives after. People like Joe Harper, a UConn MPA grad who was my predecessor at Hospital for Special Care. People like Don DeFranzo, a UConn MPA grad who's a former state senator. These are people that I learned from. Harry Hartley, former president of UConn, who was my advisor when I was in grad school. I still talk to Harry often. He taught me so much about not a day goes by where I don't use one of his management techniques. And then down to other people, like my father-in-law, who was a bank executive, like my father, who was a retired school superintendent, and my mother, who's a retired social worker, all UConn grads, by the way. I grab a piece from them, and I think even if I'm not asking them personally, how would they respond to something like this? I think to myself, how would they respond to something like this? And it gives me the ability to be able to kind of take a holistic approach to whatever is thrown in my way. And there are many days where I'll just be looking out my window and say to myself, what would Dad do? What would Chuck do? What would Joe do? What would Harry say about this? And it's a great way of like in those cartoons where like a little angel or something would be on your shoulder. It's a great way to hear through different lenses what you should do in any given situation. But mentorship is really important to me. Really, it's the cornerstone of my career.
I'm going to ask a quick follow-up question to the three of you based on what Jason just shared with us, and then we're going to move to the next theme. Jason, you're saying that mentors and networking are two of the most important things. I'm assuming that there's a lot of people here that are trying to expand their network. And when you have a big network, it's easier to keep growing it. What advice would you give some of the people that are just starting? It's early in their career and they want to expand that network. How did you do it? You were 21 when you started saying, oh, maybe I'm too young for this job, but you went for it.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
Well, there's definitely a lot more tools nowadays. So when I was looking for a job out of grad school in 2001, all I was able to do was send a letter to people that I had met and alumni that I had met. Nowadays, people nobody knows what a letter is anymore. So you use electronic media, use social media as much as you can. Follow me on Twitter. Follow somebody on Twitter. Definitely use LinkedIn. I mean, LinkedIn is an easy way of connecting and finding out about somebody. Drop them a note every now and then. If you are genuine, I think that's really what comes through. What I have no interest in is, somebody who's like, I want to connect with you just to be able to say that I connected with you and I don't know anything about you. Those folks are a dime a dozen. Somebody who says, hey, I really want to talk to you and, I'd like to come shadow you for a day, or, I have a real interest in what you're doing. Can you spend some time with me? Yeah, those are the people I have no problem mentoring and bringing along. But the connection is key, whether it's through LinkedIn or Facebook or some other social media platform. It's essential.
Thank you, Jason. Drew, what can you share here?
I think I'll pretty much repeat what Jason said, and I'll add a couple of more. One is, when you think about your first job or profession, or if you already are in a profession, make sure you connect with those professional association, whether it's through LinkedIn or they have their own. So if you are in chemical industry, are you part of American Chemical Council? If you're in financial services, are you part of some of those associations, so on and so forth. So make sure you are associated with there are a ton of organizations depending on the industry. I think Jason pointed out LinkedIn is a great way. It's more like a Facebook of everything. And yes, Jason is right. I mean, there are people who just want to connect and sell you something, and there are people who really want to interact. I would always be a little more selective in terms of who you connect, but it's okay. I mean, with sometimes you just have to take the noise, out of the system. I would also encourage to stay connected with your alumni. The past, the future, the current, and the one who's coming. And that's actually a very vast network of people. You don't know where those folks will be in 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years. And my experience, it multiplies. You get to know those. And two, I'll encourage, even if you are an introvert, a lot of people say, well, I don't like to. It's okay. You know, even introvert have ways of connection. Introvert actually connect on a much deeper level, to be honest with you. Whether you are extrovert, introvert, pick a label, but get out, connect, listen, talk, meet on beer if you want to meet on beer, attend a seminar. Every time you go, whether it's a free, is costing money or not, just get out. Knowing what is happening in the world is more important. There are a lot of resources, and Jason is one of the things Jason pointed out is right. Is 30 years ago when we were getting out of college and we were trying to do this was not as readily available as today. Today, your choices is way a lot. Actually, you have to select, and you have to be a little more selective which one you want to focus. But I would keep all options open, including conversation on one-on-one too.
One thing I want to just add to what Drew had said regarding the social media piece. You do have to be selective, and I certainly am selective, and I think most of us are selective. I am not one of those people that goes, click, 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 and then when somebody sends me a thing, I just reflex it. If I don't know you and I've never met you, I am likely not to connect with you on LinkedIn unless, and I think here's the tip for students and for alumni, unless you can, in your introduction, in those 10 seconds that I'm reading whatever you send me, make a pitch and say, hey, I'm a fellow UConn MPA alum, or hey, we both work in the same field. I'm not interested in somebody who's going to sell me something. I'm not interested in somebody saying, oh, I'm connected to you just to be connected to you. Make that pitch. You got a very narrow window by which to make that pitch. Sorry, Jessica.
Thank you so much. Jessica, go ahead.
Sure. And Jason, I completely agree with you as well, too, on that respect. And Drew, thank you for your comments as well. I'm going to take a different approach. So some of the best connections I have had in my life and the best mentors are, remember how I said I hated work-life balance? Is all those people and individuals I met in either the volunteer work that I do in the greater community or in the other activities that I do in my personal time. That has allowed me to connect with people with totally diverse backgrounds, life stories, fields of work, industries that I would never have connected with otherwise. If I stayed purely focused on where my career goal was, I still would have a great network for sure. But the people that I've learned the most from, and that's really where we're coming from, is like, who do you learn the most from? Is people that are in a different industry or capacity that I would never, ever think to do. So I would encourage you, again, I'm shamelessly plugging Drew and Jason on that, volunteer, get involved, and then more importantly, volunteer or sign up for either a seminar or workshop or group discussion with something that either, number one, makes you uncomfortable, and number two, is something you don't understand. So I come, prior to FCP Euro, I was in the aerospace industry. Now, you never want me working on an airplane engine, ever, 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 ever. But I attended seminars, I went to forums, I listened to my employees, I did, one-on-one lunches with some of the engineers to understand more. And that gave me such a greater appreciation to be able to carry our corporate social responsibility messages forward. So I would encourage you to get outside your comfort zone and attend something, belong to a group, listen in on something that really makes you uncomfortable. So politics is a perfect example. You may be one way, but you need to understand both sides. You do. That's the only way you're going to succeed, is if you can bridge that gap between cultures, difference of opinions, politics. That is the way that's going to push you forward, because then you can see the bigger picture.
Jessica and I first met impromptu, by the way, at a charity event while drinking beer at the Travelers Championship, raising money for charity. So that's part of the, it shows you, no, seriously, you never know where you're going to meet people. And I had no idea that, we kind of had, we're in the same field. So that's all the more reason. Give to charity, go to charity events, go to different things. You never know who you're going to meet.
Exactly. Thank you, Jason.
Thank you all. And we have a little bit less than 5 minutes for the next question. And it's a big question, the one that I'm about to ask you. So I would like to allow some time to get Q&A from the audience. So switching gears right now, there seems to be a great call for dismantling racist systems in the United States right now. How is this impacting your work, and what is next for your industry? Do you foresee any growth opportunities in here, or how do you, what do you try to do on an individual level? Let's start with Drew.
Well, my view is the racial justice is not a new topic. It just it has been amplified, recently, probably for many reasons. That's the good news. We have more ways to talk about it. We have more ways to listen. We have more ways. We have more reasons to do that. When you step back and take a look at the civilization, the world has been flattening, whether it's a technology or equality. That will continue to happen. The racial justice, which is another way of saying it, racial injustice, which is also going to take a hit, because the world will continue to become a more equitable place as we go forward. People are more connected, people are more educated, people are more informed, and people are not going to take what they took 300 years ago. As far as I'm concerned, I'm probably a live example of, I would call, success. I am so thankful for a lot of people that I've been able to achieve what I have been able to achieve. My skin color and language and accent and birthplace set aside. I do believe that there is a structural issue. The race is not a color or a language or a food or a culture. There is a whole income, and there is a whole structure being built, and that poverty and income and social status, that needs to be broken. And I am, as I said, technologist at heart, and I personally continue to lead technology as one of the ways to flatten this world, to create more equitable world as we go forward. I believe that inspiration, motivation, emotional connections are great, but the real change come with technology. And when I say technology, I don't mean your social media. I mean chemical technology, aerospace technology, information technology. And I think the technology, as the technology continue to evolve, the cost of technology continues to drop, the adoption of technology continues to grow, this world will continue to become more equitable. And very specifically to my job, as I said, we are here to help, regardless of race, gender, or any other label. We are here to take people from where they are financially and socially to a higher level, and that is, you can't be more flattening the world and making more equitable than that. And the best way to do that is make the technology of all kind and information related to it available. People are so smart. Every human being is capable. Every human being deserves, and every human being, in my mind, is capable as long as we give the opportunity. And that's the way I have lived, and that's the way I continue to work in Goodwill.
Thank you so much, Drew. I want to be mindful of the time, so we're going to go with Jessica and then briefly with Jason before we move to a Q&A. Jessica, if you can tell us a little bit about, you started talking about this. How do you approach the issue of inclusion and diversity at your workplace?
Yeah, so as we all saw, numerous companies and entities made a statement after the passing of George Floyd. And you're absolutely right, Drew. It is centuries too late, in my opinion, but better late than never. So FCP Euro, the company I work for, they made the statement, but then they said, okay, how do we actually make that into action? And the biggest thing I would have you consider within this is that we have to understand the difference between equality and equity when it comes to racial difference. Is you have equality where it's everybody's treated equally, which again is great and part of the bigger picture. but we really want to talk about that equity. And that's the challenge we're putting forth within our company, both internally and externally. So equity is that, that person that's had a more privileged lifestyle, that, is white in color, was able to move forward so much further than somebody that's from an inner city youth development or from a different nationality background from a different country here in the United States. So by opening that up and really having those conversations about microaggressions, the unconscious bias that exists without us doing it, and then understanding the differences in the socioeconomic need in those communities, FCP Euro, we're really looking to take that to the next level. And how can we invest both our resources, our time, and our teams to make sure that we can open that dialogue, to have those tough conversations and be able to make true progress. So the other side of that too is the people that frequently are the ones that are asked or may have unconscious biases against them. They also have to be equal to accepting those hard questions and helping teach others. So it's not only the aggressors, it's also the ones that have those against them that they need to provide a coaching moment. So that's part of our long-term strategy.
Jessica, thank you so much. Jason, what do you think?
Look, if I was putting on my hat as a public policy professor, how I'd answer the question is somewhere along the lines of, there's two different camps in this country. There's certainly a group of people who are under the impression that we had a black president for 8 years with a unusual sounding name. We currently have a black Asian female vice president. I mean, what more could we want? I mean, we've completely evolved as a country. We are not the same country that we were on July 4th, 1776. Those are all good points, absolutely good points. And clearly we are better off now than we were in days in which the current vice president of the United States would have been counted as 3/5 of a person under the Constitution. That's one group of people. There's another group of people, though, that look at that and say, we still have a long way to go. And I think being a food banker and being, basically I'm running an anti-poverty agency. We see all walks of life here in Connecticut. There is poverty in all 169 towns. Doesn't matter, the richest town in the state, Greenwich, one of the poorest towns in the state, Bridgeport. There's poverty in both of those municipalities. We have to recognize the fact that there are some stark differences out there, and we have to find a way as a society and both within our work lives and our personal lives to acknowledge the beauty in that first point that I had made, that we have come a long way, but we also have to acknowledge that we are not in a position to rest on our laurels and say, see, everything's much better, because I see it every day. It's not. We've got a long way to go, and I think just acknowledging that and having that dialogue is important.
Thank you so much, Jason. I'm going to move to Q&A from some of the audience that they're asking some questions right now. I'm going to try to follow one of the questions related to the topic that we're discussing right now. What are areas that we can make an impact within a company to affect positive social justice change within our companies, especially if we are not in a senior position? I think that's a really interesting question. I don't know whoever would like to take that question.
So if you both are comfortable, I'll take the lead on that. So that's a great question. And that is a common one in the corporate environment. I'm sure Jason and Drew can agree with me on that, where I'm not in senior management, I can't do anything. It's a hard fact to chase. So with that, the best way to do is, again, to start that conversation. So many companies, large and small, have either social forums or employee resource groups, and maybe there is a need for one that just hasn't been identified yet. So I would say, again, start finding those people that share that common passion with you. Start, again, the networking is huge. Start necking with them and create some sort of informal group where you can just open a discussion and dialogue, continue to help and learn from one another, and continue to seek out workshops and seminars to continue to engage you. And you be amazed how quickly that catches fire and allows senior leadership to give you the visibility and exposure to enact it company-wide.
Thank you, Jessica.
I would add that all companies are not created equal. And again, we deal with corporations all the time. A part of, you know, I mean, the standard, the answer would be, you know, you got to work within your company. You got to see if there's an employee engagement group, et cetera. But there are some companies that are more progressive than others. It's just that simple. So, you know, I mean, half of it is working within your company, even if you're not in senior management. The other half is, you know, do your best to work for a company that you believe in and that has corporate citizenship values that you believe in.
Mm-hmm. Drew, is there anything you would like to add?
No, I think, you know, Jessica probably is definitely expert in that. That's pretty much her job, I think, you know, but I do believe that if you land up in an environment where, you know, you don't have a choice and company can only do what they can and management can do what they can, be yourself. If you are LGBT, well, be yourself. There's no need to hide. If you are a person of color, if you have a different accent, there's no need to hide. Be yourself, do the right thing, and that is the best thing you can do to bring changes in the organization.
That reminded me. I remember hearing this all the time. Is that you know why I have an accent? Because I'm bilingual. I just remember that, and I appreciate you sharing that. This is going great. We have a couple more questions. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to go through all of them, but hopefully maybe we can get in touch with the people and responding to them later on. There's one question here that I think will be interesting, and maybe we're gonna have to end after this. Maybe we'll have time for one more. What do you see as the next big area or field to see a need for graduates of UConn? What is expected out of UConn graduates? I don't know who would like to go first.
I expect a lot out of UConn graduates. I think that one of the great things about a community like UConn is that you know, the academic rigor and the caliber of students continues to increase over time, which I don't look at as a knock to any of us that already graduated. I look at that as a compliment to us. You know, people joke all the time, well, my degree is more valuable. Yeah, for sure, absolutely. I mean, that's great. I have high expectations. There is definitely, you know, do I have some unstated bias towards UConn grads? Yeah, I mean, everybody always does towards their alma mater a little bit, but I have high expectations. I've had a number of interns through the Department of Public Policy's IPP program over the last 10 years. They're excellent. So, I mean, when somebody comes to me from UConn, there is a very high bar that they need to achieve. But I have very high expectations. I also expect them not to have any interest in Duke or Tennessee basketball.
Let me interrupt there for a second, because I just got another question that I think it's you guys will be the right people to respond. How do you see the role of senior management evolving over the next few years to impact or integrate social change?
Well, that's a great question. Drew or Jason, did you want to go first? I definitely have some thoughts on that.
You go first, Jessica.
Okay.
Go for it.
So it's already started, again, a little bit too late. It is unfortunately has in the roles of senior management, are we at the paradigm for parity and the gender and racial and socioeconomic equity we need to be at? No. But it takes tragic acts like what's been happening this year in the US to really get people to think outside the box. And I think senior management is, as you're having some of these generations retired, you're having individuals come in like myself, that bottom line, you come in and you do not apologize that, number one, who you are, to Drew's point earlier, and number two, that you say upfront, I am here to challenge the status quo, that what worked for the past 50 years is not effective anymore, and that you need to be okay with uncomfortable. And the other thing that I keep questioning myself every single day is I still feel like I have imposter syndrome, that I should not be in this role. I should not be in senior management. I'm in a male-dominated workforce. I'm the only female on the senior management team. And so with that, I carry an obligation to all the women that are my friends, my mentors, my family, that I have to do better and I have to do more. So carry that responsibility, but come in and do not apologize from day one saying we need to change. And if that company is unwilling to change or unwilling to accept that they need to change, you're the wrong company, period. And those companies will fail. And we've seen that happen in the past year alone with COVID. A lot of the companies that have failed to succeed, companies and nonprofits, are the ones that failed to evolve.
I would add to that, and again, maybe I kind of look at it from a different perspective, being a president and CEO, but leadership starts at the top. Senior management teams are essential, and having different perspectives is essential, but a company or a nonprofit or any type of entity or a governmental entity for that matter can absolutely rise or fall based on the person that is in charge of it. You know, I have seen and worked for excellent CEOs. I've seen and worked for, you know, CEOs that aren't as great. It absolutely makes a difference what their the not only the imagery but the level of tolerance that they're giving from the very highest level. I never realized it until I was in this seat. People hang on your every word, and they listen to what you say, and they watch how you behave. So being a good CEO and working for a company that has a strong CEO, whether you've met that person or not, whether you know them personally or not, you need somebody that has strong leadership at the top.
Mhm.
I would say in last 10 years, my experience with the medium and large companies is the diversity and inclusion has become a part and parcel of the management practice. Whether you look at the hiring practice, people like me, when we look at candidate, we also take a look at what we have. Can we diversify, you know, can we add more diversity? From the inclusion perspective, I have seen in the last 10 years, I would say things have really gotten up of, we have started listening to employees more than we had 10 years ago, probably. Most of the companies I work for, we do employee survey to understand what's going on, because it's really in their interest to engage employees and listen to them. Even in team building practices, now we are more inclusive than we were before. So I do believe, at least for medium to large companies, I can't speak for small ones, the things are going in a positive fashion. Still a long way to go, don't get me wrong, but we need to bring change at every level. This is not CEO's job. This is not senior management job. This is job for everybody. And when we see this happening at every level, I see those organizations doing far better, bringing the diversity inclusion than just being a top-down approach.
I wish we had more time, but unfortunately our time is over. I want to thank all the people that asked those questions. Hopefully we can follow up with the remaining questions. But I want to thank you, Drew, Jessica, and Jason. This was a wonderful conversation, and you're truly inspirational. And thanks for the job that you're doing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Passing over to Elisa.
Thank you.
Thank you, Oscar. And I'll just echo Oscar, Jason, Jessica, and Drew. Thank you for really such a wonderful conversation this afternoon. We will do our best to try to follow up on the questions that were not answered. But again, I would encourage everyone to please connect with the panelists, and don't forget to put a little note so they know where you're coming from, so they don't reject your LinkedIn connection. And look for Jason on Twitter as well. You'll get some great sports content on there. So this is not the last program in this Elevate series. We have two more. On the 17th, we have a program talking about the sports industry and how that's been impacted during COVID. And then on the 25th, we have a great panel that's talking about technology, business, and law from an artificial intelligence perspective and the integration with career there. So I hope you all have a great afternoon. And
Thank you, everyone. It was a pleasure.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Go Huskies.
Thank you.